guys, welcome back to another episode of Radical Living. This time I sat down with professional athlete and coach Adam McMullen. In this episode we pick things up when Adam begins to tell us a little bit about himself and his experience within both competing and coaching. We not only talk about competing at an elite level and the pressures and injuries and mindsets that it takes, but we also chat about faith and misconceptions surrounding that, and we also dive into mental health. Please remember to like, subscribe, share and follow Radical Living Podcast on all of our platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, Spotify and Apple. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's been listening so far. Please remember to go and check out our latest episodes, and please get in touch and let us know what you think. But for now, hope you guys are challenged, inspired, and just really tune in to what Adam has to say.
Yep, super. Thanks for having me. I am a 30-year-old athlete / coach from Belfast. I've competed as an international athlete for about 10 years now. I've done European Championships, World University Games, most recently Commonwealth Games. And as I've moved away from my athlete's career, I've moved more into coaching, and I've coached some international athletes now too. The most significant thing as an athlete, I suppose, that's happened over the last year or two was an Achilles rupture. Most people call it a career-ending injury, but I've found a way to sort of come back and still perform at a high enough level as an athlete as well. So that's probably the most interesting thing.
Very good.
About me right now.
Yeah, we'll touch into a couple of those things later on. But have you always been interested in sports? Is that something that you've always done? And then when did you make that transition into athletics?
I've always had a lot of energy,
Yeah.
and I feel quite bad for my mum as a kid. I actually ended up doing a lot of sports because I think she just wanted me to spend the energy somewhere else. When I come home, I'm just ready to sleep.
Yeah.
So she was great. She had me doing everything from Irish dancing, swimming, horse riding, basketball, football. And then I started athletics as I was leaving primary school, going into secondary school is when she got me there. I think, again, it's one of those things where just threw me at a summer camp to get rid of me for a week.
Yeah.
I made some very good friends, so I stuck out the athletics.
Brilliant. And is that whenever you kind of started to discover your love for it and passion for it, or was it just kind of more I'll just do this and see where it goes?
It might have been more of a slow burner. I had some really good friends from athletics. My cousins were there too, people from different schools and different backgrounds, which is quite nice because I found growing up, it's usually the same social circles. You have your little football team that all go to the same school together and they all do stuff socially together. So athletics was quite nice that it brought, I think there was 4 different schools in Markerfelt at the time, and there was an athlete from each of the schools. So it was quite a diverse social group. I got along with them all very well, and you travel a bit from athletics too. You go down south to Irish Championships, so we'd sometimes get the boat across to Scotland. So we developed some pretty good friendships, and I feel like over the course of the next 5-10 years, I just started to grow a love for athletics too. But definitely the social side kept me involved. For sure. Yeah,
and there's a lot of social benefits with sports anyway. So it's great to kind of get that at a young age and have that. So when did you start competing then? So instead of it being just a social thing, when did you start to really compete?
I always tried in my head when I was 15. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the Olympics for 100 meters, 200 meters, long jump, triple jump, maybe do shot. And then I kind of took a few years of failure and perseverance before I really found my niche in the long jump. So it wasn't actually until I was 21 that I got my first international call up, and that was for the European under-23s, which are in Czech Republic. That was actually the first year I competed outside of the UK, so it was a pretty big deal. We did a few competitions in Belgium. I think I went to France, and then we ended up going to the Czech Republic at the end of the summer for the European under-23s, and then that was a whole new eye-opener to how awesome people actually are in the world. You think you're pretty good in Ireland or the UK, and then you go to a European Championships and you get these crazy athletes who are the best in the world at what they do.
And is that intimidating going into that environment? Like, is there like added pressure what's that like?
I feel like it always is. There's always somebody better than you.
Yeah.
So it's hard because some competitions I'll go in and I think I'm the one that's intimidating people, and then other competitions I'm looking at this guy and I go, flip, this guy's rocked up.
Yeah.
There's been a few competitions. I remember the Commonwealth Games, Usain Bolt was there just as a guest.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, it's Usain Bolt. And I was like, no, Adam, you're an athlete. You're here to be an athlete.
Yeah.
And then I think Chris Hemsworth, because it was an Australian, I was like, it's Chris Hemsworth. And I was
yeah.
I went full fanboy. So
Yeah. You're trying to contain yourself.
Yeah, some days get caught off guard, but I found that the higher you go up in terms of the performance ladder, the less stressed or intimidated you usually get by the big names or the really big performers, because you kind of I've stopped seeing them as my role models or
people you look up to.
Yeah, and more as rivals and people I actually am think, well, I'm here now. We're competitors and
equals nearly.
Yeah.
And how do you get in? Like, I'm always really intrigued. Like, whenever you see people competing, like in athletics or whatever, Commonwealth Games, Olympics, how do you get into that zone?
I wish I had the answer.
No.
Some days I'm in the zone and some days I'm not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you always in the zone, or is it you come away from after competing and being like, I just wasn't feeling that? Is it hard to get into that headspace?
I would say that the thing I'm most thankful for about being a long jumper is we get 6 attempts. So you have you have 6 goes to sort of add a little bit each time. I'm not very good at 100 meters or 200 meters because it's a guy tells you when to get in the blocks, a tight guy tells you when to go to set, and then the gun tells you when to go, and
that's it.
Yeah, if you're caught sleeping in the blocks, you're kind of a little bit screwed. So
you kind of have a build up process then with long jump.
Although every major competition I've done, I remember notably the World University Games were in South Korea. And the first round of the final, it felt like my feet were nailed to the floor. And I was like, come on, do a little jump, do something. I think I tried to jump and I was like, skip. And I didn't go anywhere. I was like, okay, so the first round isn't going to be a good jump. Yeah. And then usually I just get the first round done. Then the second round gets a little bit better. Third round is a bit of a flow. And then on. But I think it's a bit of competition anxiety. And I think accepting that it's going to be there helps me cope sometimes. And over the last 5 or 6 years, I've actually started to pray on the runway because I definitely need more strength than what I have, and I've been given strength that isn't mine. And sometimes the competitions have just started with a big oomph, and the first round's been a lot better than I have. But I think accepting that I don't have the strength or the courage sometimes in the first round, but even just asking for strength and courage from God, it just brings this whole new energy and confidence. And I wish I'd been doing this for the last 10, 15 years, but I'm grateful that I have it now to bring into competitions. Yeah,
you kind of touched on God and your faith. When you said that's only been a recent thing, when did that kind of happen for you, and how much has it helped you? I know you touched on it there, but has it totally changed your game?
I would say it's changed my life completely. Yeah. I feel like God's been nudging me in directions I would have never thought to go down, and he's given me confidence I never thought I'd have to explore new avenues or try new things and just get out of my comfort zone. I've always had some degree of faith, but it wasn't until 2015, 2016 I really started to form a relationship with God and have proper conversations, and it wasn't just a set of rules and do's and don'ts that I thought it was when I was growing up. It was actually something much more deeper. And just through my learning and through my relationship with God, things have just became very awesome, which is a word I overuse apparently, but that's a word I want to use right now. It's been
but God is awesome.
God is awesome. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. And how do you then kind of talked about you developed an injury, so that I think a lot of not just athletes but people in general, we like control. And even, you show up on a competition day and you want to be in control of the circumstances and in control of what's going to happen. But then something out of nowhere hits you. How was that, experiencing that injury? How was, you said at the start that that's a career-ending injury.
Yeah.
How was that journey of accepting that this has happened and really trying to come back from that? How does that take a toll on you mentally as well as physically, and your relationship with God?
I mean, it was...
Sorry, I threw a lot at you there.
No, it's okay. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was very tough. it's funny because as an athlete, I mean, each year you're trying to scrape away at centimeters for personal best, or even as a sprinter, you know, if you're a 100-meter rower, you want to go from 10.05 to 9.99, and you think, you know, you train 10, 20 hours a week, and after a year you're 0.06 seconds quicker. Or I go from a 7.85 PB to a 7.99 PB, which is only 14 centimeters, and some people think, oh, that's, you know, a few inches. Like, is that all the outcome for the work?
Yeah.
But as an athlete, I always find a lot of gratitude in that. I always found that I worked hard and I just scraped away and chipped away. So whenever I got an injury, it just felt like, what was the point of all this hard work? You know, for, you know, trying to squeeze out centimeters or little inches each year, and now all the hard work has just ended in an injury that a lot of people said was going to end my career. So to be honest, I think the first few weeks were really tough after I was actually very grateful because I got the surgery 5 days after my injury, and I had a really good surgeon. But it's tricky because people are very supportive, but no one's around, you know, 24/7 to look after me. So a lot of days I was just sitting on the sofa feeling sorry for myself. I couldn't get a shower because my leg was in a cast. So I felt very useless. And even my job as a coach, which is what I did outside of being an athlete, I couldn't do that because I couldn't walk for, I got my surgery at the start of November, and I wasn't able to walk again until I think it was around Christmas. They actually let me walk, like without crutches. So it was just hard because from feeling like superhuman, where my body was a temple and I was going around being, you know, making some amazing relationships as a coach, to sitting on the sofa, being able to like text people, or, you know, I just felt like it went from one extreme to the other. So that was a very testing time. I prayed a lot. I talked to God a lot. I just decided that I would just find different opportunities and avenues to go down. So I just started doing a lot of coach education stuff because it was stuff I could do from home, and it made me feel smart, which made me feel motivated, which, you know, and it totally just changed things around. And as a result, one of the girls I coached actually ended up going to a European Championships, and it was a massive breakthrough season for her. And it was a European Championships I was supposed to go to before I got injured. So it's kind of nice because, you know, one door closes, another door opens. So I found this new light as a coach, and that's when the transition really started to happen. So I think if I didn't have my faith and didn't stay optimistic throughout it all, I might not have went down that avenue to really try to motivate myself to be productive and not feel kind of worthless at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been, you talked about there, you know, coaching's an amazing thing. You're able to pass stuff on to other people. Is that probably the most rewarding thing for you as a coach, to be able to guide athletes through things that you've been through yourself and give them pointers and tips?
Yeah, I think so. I made a lot of mistakes as an athlete, so it's always quite rewarding when you see someone I coach about to make a similar mistake, but I can sort of guide them in the right direction and use my errors and my experience and my wins to sort of help them take an easier path, per se. It's nice because I find it more rewarding when an athlete succeeds compared to when I succeed, because when I succeed, it's just me. But when an athlete succeeds, it's teamwork, and we've worked together, and I know their goals and they know what I'm trying to do for them. So it's kind of like a double win whenever they succeed. So there's definitely a lot more reward for me personally whenever I see my guys do well or have some awesome breakthrough moments. So it's quite good. And as a coach, it's nice because I spend time to build relationships with athletes, and you get a deep understanding of their characters and their wants and needs. So whenever they do win, it has a bit more of a personal touch whenever you see them do really well.
Yeah, and I would say, like, whenever you coach, doing coaching myself, you really get to know them as a person, and you get to know not only them, but nearly their family and their friends and their circles. How do you then share your faith? Is that hard? Are people welcoming to that?
It can be tricky sometimes. Sometimes for me, I've seen it as, you know, how do you read the room? So some conversations are easier than others. I always try to drip feed in little bits of my faith so people know that I am religious, I am a Christian, and they don't just think I'm just some random Joe coach who just likes what he does. I like people to know that I have a purpose in life.
There's a purpose behind it.
Yeah, God has a plan for me, and I'm trying to follow God's plan.
Yeah.
and that's what gives me my most inspiration and motivation as a coach. Sometimes I can't. I've made the mistake in the past, I would guess, of trying to force my faith onto people and tell them like this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do. But I find sometimes the best way is just to nudge or drip feed or make people aware of what I do. Like I told the guys like, oh, I'm doing a Coaching for Christ thing this week. And, and you kind of bleed it into conversation like, oh, you're from Ballymena. I'm going to Ballymena, around Ballymena this week for Coaching the Christ thing. Like, oh, what's that about? And then you'd make a conversation that way. And it's pretty awesome that way. I find I can be quite tactical in my types of conversations. Or sometimes you let those guys have a conversation. I just have a little small input into it, like some common misconceptions about faith. Like, oh, well, I drink, so I can't really be religious. And you're like, well, there's like, it's not completely black and white. Yeah. And then they start to ask questions too. So again, you can. I've tried to be quite tactful in my older age. Yeah. And, use a wee bit of wisdom. Yeah, some conversations are definitely easier than others, but I try to stay confident in my faith because sometimes I feel like here people are quick to make fun or belittle you or even judge or talk to me about other people behind their backs, and it makes me paranoid about what they're saying about me. So I can be very self-aware sometimes, and I think that stopped me from having conversations in previous years. But I've asked God for courage and confidence in these conversations, and I find that I'm slowly getting better and better at them.
And I think it's definitely, relational. What you do, and Jesus himself was relational in the sense that we have to take opportunities when God presents it, and quite often we're not expecting it, and somebody will say something, we'll be like, oh, now's our chance to get in. Sure. Thank you, God. You've been praying about it and talking about it. So I think it's amazing that you can use your passion for coaching and your passion for athletics and what you do to share your faith. And there seems to be, I don't know whether it's just Northern Ireland, but there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to Christianity and when it comes to Christians. And what would you say is kind of the key misconceptions that people have about it, and how then, do you find that God gives you opportunities to try and let them know, well, actually, no, it's not what you think it is?
I think similar to some of the misconceptions I had 10 or 15 years ago, where you see God as this like authority figure who just has rules that you follow or you don't follow, so you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, and people don't see it as I think someone used the term before, sin through faith, where we know we're going to sin at some part of our life, so you ask for forgiveness and you develop a deep relationship, and you try to abide by a moral code, and you do, and I find that the stronger my relationship with God gets, or the deeper it gets, the better I feel at things, and the less mistakes I seem to make. I still see myself making a lot of mistakes, but I know that I can make mistakes. I feel like a lot of people feel like if you're a Christian, you can't make mistakes. You can't do anything wrong. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on them. And a lot of teenagers already have a lot of other pressures in life. So they sometimes just, and it's not that they purposefully lose focus, it's just they can sometimes get distracted by other things too. And it can, from my experience and from my conversations, sometimes it can feel like a lot of pressure, very daunting to, if you want to be a Christian, you have to do X amount of things and you can't do these types of things. And that's a very common misconception. And I've had conversations before with people where, they've been like, oh, well, this person's supposed to be a Christian, but they go out twice a week, so some Christian they are.
I've had a few of them.
And then you're like, well, it's a personal journey, it's a personal relationship, and then you try to just open some minds or provide another overlay of it or another opinion of it. And some conversations are easy, and some people just think, nah, you're either a Christian or you're not, you either do this or you don't do this. And so I find that to be a very common trend. So it's just trying to sort of break that stigma as a coach. And I think I'm getting better at it, although I think in 20, 30 years, I'm like, Adam, when he was 30, didn't have a clue what he was doing.
Look how far I've come. But I think every day is like that. And the more, I do agree, I think there's a really big stigma with Christianity that you have to have it all together and you have to be perfect. And that's not the case. And Jesus openly says that, whenever you become and another one, I don't know, is maybe whenever you become a Christian, your life's better, or
Yeah,
it's
a
not.
white light shines down.
Yeah, and everything's perfect.
Yeah.
But Jesus didn't say that. Jesus said, yes, your life will be better because I'll transform it.
Yeah.
But you're gonna come across challenges and it's gonna be tough. But I'm with you. And I think it's important that to note that, and for anybody that's listening, we don't have it all together, and we're on a journey like everybody else, and we make mistakes and we mess up. But thankfully, God's there to correct us and show us the right way to go. Which is really, it takes the pressure off.
It does for sure. And even knowing that it's okay to make mistakes, even down the runway, my first round, you see me praying. And then it's just like, God, can I mess up the first round and be okay? And it's like, yes, you can make a mistake in the first. It's not just about getting everything, because I can use long jump as my analogy. I'm a big guy for analogies, but you got 6 rounds and people just think every 6th round, or you have to get better every single round. You need to start with a personal best or close to a personal best. And even, it's just like, no, it's okay to mess up a round or two, because in the bigger picture, things are generally moving towards the right direction, and little mistakes here and there are normal. Yeah. It's just, I find athletes in general are perfectionists, and everything needs to be right, and everything needs to be done a certain way or else it's wrong. So it's, I've learned as an athlete that sometimes you just got to accept the bad days and ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and, you learn how to ride the waves of success and failure, motivation and demotivation. Yeah, and I think, but I think it's lovely to be coming from a coaching perspective, having gone through it, and it helps you understand exactly what your athletes are feeling and what they're going through. Would they come to you often for that reassurance, for that guidance, or are they perfectionists by nature, or can you see them being overcome with pressure and you can step in and be like, chill out, it's okay? Some athletes do, and some don't. I don't think it's a conscious thing sometimes. I think sometimes, especially teenagers, are just confused, and guys especially just don't know their emotions. Yeah. So guys, I have to, how did that go? There's a difference between fine, okay, good. And you have to just learn the difference in tones. Yeah, there's a difference between fine and fine and fine. Yeah. You begin to really dissect those different types of fines and okay. And I found that most females are a little bit more verbal of how they feel and what they're going through, and anxiety and confidence, and she's going to run and I didn't have a good race against her last time, or the weather doesn't look good, or I'm not. And then we can get deeper conversations, and you chat to a guy, it's like, how are you feeling for Thursday? Oh yeah, I'm going to win. Well, what do you know? What do you think? What do you think you're going to run? Going to run a personal best. Yeah. Okay, and then you have to really sort of work away. Really big difference. Again, as you said, when there's an opportunity to have a conversation where they open up a little bit, you got to just pounce on it, and then really get to understand things that way. So different athletes have different sort of mindsets, and I get different conversations with different people. So again, it's sometimes about reading the room. Sometimes the guys don't want to go into a deep conversation about how they feel or what their aspirations are, how their faith affects their performance, or if they have faith in their performance. And other athletes are super willing to talk about it all the time. Yeah, it's just there's a minefield, isn't it? Yeah, people are confusing. And we all are, and we all have our days. But we've talked kind of throughout this episode about God's plan and wanting to live the life that God wants us to, and reach and fulfill the plan that He has for us. What just kind of closing us off, what would you say, Adam, for anybody that's listening to this? And we've talked about courage and being brave. What would you say for anybody who just wants to be brave and wants to be courageous and wants to be radical and be different and go against the norm and the flow? What would you say to them to just kind of encourage them to be brave and to go after their dreams and what they want, and what God's maybe opening up a door that they don't know about just yet? It's a tough question. What would I say? I could use because over the last year, I actually left a salary job as a coach and went into independent coaching. I felt like it was the right thing to do, and I felt like that's where God was leading me. Yeah. I felt like I was a little bit restricted with what I could do working for a governing body, as opposed to what I could do as being my own coach. Yeah. Designing my own programs, making my own, little groups of athletes. Yeah. Stuff like that. And And somewhat, I was comfortable and complacent.
Okay.
And I think it's easy to let years or months or whatever drift by when you are complacent or comfortable. And time sort of goes away. Because I remember in 2017, I was thinking, okay, I should really start doing something by myself here because I know that I can.
Yeah.
And it took till 2019 before I was like, oh, flip, I want to do something by myself here because I know I can. So sometimes like complacency can end a lot of careers or, you know, aspirations without people actually realizing it. I had some good friends. Because I surround myself with people who pick me up, who are successful people and who I have great engaging conversations with. And they were just super encouraging and they had lots of ideas and ways to guide me and becoming self-employed for their own experiences. And, you know, they had some like, oh, this worked and this didn't work. And I think I can be a very prideful guy, and I didn't want to step out of my comfort zone in case it didn't work because I was very aware that people might think, oh, what's he trying to do? Or, you know, and that was very tough too. So I had to just have faith in myself and faith in God that this is what he wanted me to do. And again, ebbs and flows. I might have some bad months at the start or some bad months in the middle, but you know, the good will be better eventually. So if I had to give advice, it would be I gave myself some really good advice last year, and I actually wrote it down. Replace your fear and pride with confidence and humility, because I feel like that is what a lot of people need. Humility in that you can make mistakes, and you know, it might feel embarrassing for you, but if it's what you're meant to do, then, you know, humility. I think everyone needs a little bit of humility sometimes, and courage. Courage is, you know, overcoming fear of failure, fear of not doing things right, fear of not being where you want to be. But courage, I think, overrides that. And so I ask God all the time for courage and humility. And the last bit of advice would be to surround yourself in an environment that's positive and encouraging, and people lift you up, for sure.
Yeah, I think in a society where, you know, it's so important to have a good support network around you for people that aren't going to be jealous or envious of your success, but are actually going to build you up and encourage you and cheer you on. And I think that's really important. And just what you were saying there about, I just think about like a blank canvas, and like I'm terrible at art, but just painting all over it, and it's messy. But then at the end of it, you're proud of it because you're like, you know what, it's been a journey that, you know, it's been messy, but I embraced every minute of it. And I think that's just really important for anybody listening to this, to just embrace it, and don't let fear of failure hold you back, or fear in general. Actually fight your fear and be elevated and allow God to work behind the scenes. Yeah, totally. And most of my experience has been a nudge, not a shove. I feel like for too long I waited for some big euphorical moment, like boom, like this is it, time to go, where it's just been a little bit of a nudge. And then you look back in the last 6 months and you think, oh flip, I've actually went really far. And it hasn't been some like mind-blowing, like lightning struck moment. It's just been slowly veering and nudging towards where I want to be. Yeah, and I think it's a very rewarding whenever you can look back and see the little breakthroughs. Yeah. You know, I think you're 100% right. People wait for that big, massive light bulb moment. But it's little breakthroughs, really, that have been happening over a long period of time. To go back to my analogies, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah, pun intended. A good one to end on. Brilliant. Adam, for anybody that might be listening to this at whatever stage, where can we find you? What's your social media? It's Instagram you're on. Yeah, I have my athlete Instagram, my personal Instagram, which is Adam_McMullen 90. Then I have my coaching Instagram, which is fast_twitch_athletics, and that's where I get all my coaching content and stuff. And then I have a website which has all the details and stuff, which is just fasttwitchathletics.com. If anyone is interested in hearing what I have to say about life and athletics in general. Just take your opportunities to share. Yeah, for sure, and get in touch. I always like talking to new people and creating new conversations. And I've been hesitant in the past to talk to people, to learn from them, but I think that's been one of the best things that I've done over the last few years, is just create relationships from nothing and just start conversations. It's hard to start them at the start, but once you get flowing, I'm glad I've made them and I've had them. Yeah. So Adam, thank you so much. Yeah, and get in touch with Adam if you're wanting to embark on a... Curious about anything in life, I will
help guide you.
Yeah, a fountain of knowledge and wisdom.
Or I'll find someone smarter than me that can.
Yeah. No, thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Guys, hope you enjoyed our latest episode. I want to say a massive thank you to Adam for all of your banter and laughs throughout this recording. Really enjoyed chatting with you. Please make sure and go and check Adam out on social media. Really excited for his future and what's next for him. Want to say again, just thank you to everybody who's listening to this, and please remember to like, subscribe, follow and share Radical Living podcast on all of our platforms. We want to reach and inspire as many people as we can to embark on this journey of radical living. Guys, hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.